Hollywood lied to you. Those dramatic tank versus tank duels you've seen in movies, they accounted for less than 30% of German tank losses in World War II. The real tank killers of the Wehrmacht were far more mundane and far more surprising. Let's shatter the biggest myth right now. The majority of German tanks weren't destroyed in glorious battle. They were abandoned, scuttled, or broken down on the side of muddy roads, victims of something far deadlier than enemy fire: logistics. By 1944, a captured German maintenance officer revealed the shocking truth to Allied interrogators. For every panzer we lose to enemy action, we lose 3 to mechanical failure and fuel shortage. This wasn't propaganda. This was mathematics. Consider the Tiger tank's final drive system. It needed replacement every 500 miles, if you could find spare parts. German factories were being bombed around the clock by 1,000 bomber raids. A Panther tank required 200 different ball bearings. When the Allies bombed Schweinfurt's ball bearing plants, Panthers started breaking down before reaching the front lines. One Wehrmacht mechanic wrote, "We have beautiful tanks that can destroy anything, but they're sitting useless because we're missing a 10-pfennig gasket." But here's where it gets interesting. The second biggest killer wasn't what you'd expect either. It was mines. Simple, cheap, mass-produced mines. The Soviets alone laid 200 million of them. A $3 mine could destroy a 300,000 Reichsmark King Tiger. Soviet TM-41 mines didn't need to destroy the tank completely. They just needed to blow off a track. In the Russian mud season, a tracked tank became a 60-ton paperweight. American statistics from Normandy revealed that mines and improvised explosive devices destroyed more German armor than bazookas and tank guns combined. One German tank commander bitterly noted, "We scan the horizon for enemy tanks, while death waits beneath our tracks." Now, let's talk about the weapon that actually killed the most German tanks in combat. And it's not what anyone expects. It was artillery, not anti-tank guns, regular artillery. The Soviets perfected this with their pack-front tactic, massing hundreds of guns and simply obliterating grid squares where German tanks were spotted. They didn't need direct hits. A 152mm shell landing within 10 meters would flip a Panzer IV Torfs. Concussion alone killed crews. At Kursk, Soviet artillery destroyed more German tanks in 3 hours than tank battles did in 3 days. American artillery was even more devastating thanks to one secret weapon: the proximity fuse. These VT fuses made shells explode in airburst above tanks. Shrapnel would rain down on the thin top armor, just 25mm on most German tanks. Tank crews found decapitated commanders who never knew what hit them. One Panzer veteran recalled, "We feared American artillery more than anything. You couldn't fight it, couldn't see it, couldn't escape it." But perhaps the most ingenious tank killer was the simplest: the Soviet PTRD-41 anti-tank rifle. Yes, a rifle. It couldn't penetrate a Tiger's frontal armor, but Soviet soldiers discovered something else. Fire 20 rounds at the vision ports, and you blind the tank. Blind tanks stumble into ravines, crash into buildings, or simply button up and become useless. The Soviets produced 471,000 of these rifles. They cost 193 rubles each. A Tiger tank cost 300,000 Reichsmarks. Then came the fighter bombers. The Allied cab rank system kept fighter bombers circling constantly, ready to pounce. Typhoon rockets had a terrible hit rate, less than 5%, but they didn't need to hit. The psychological effect was paralyzing. German tanks bunched up under tree cover, afraid to move in daylight, becoming sitting ducks for artillery coordinates. Here's the brutal mathematics of attrition. Germany produced 49,177 tanks during the entire war. They faced enemies who produced 227,000 tanks combined. But tanks weren't killing tanks at anywhere near a 1.1 ratio. They were dying to mines that cost less than a helmet, artillery shells fired from 20 miles away, and mechanical failures that no amount of courage could overcome. The final, darkest truth? By 1945, more German tanks were destroyed by their own crews than by enemy action. Out of fuel, out of ammunition, out of hope, German tankers blew up their own vehicles rather than let them be captured. The Wehrmacht's maintenance logs from April 1945 contain hundreds of entries. Destroyed by crew. Lack of fuel. The real tank killers of World War II weren't heroic tank aces or superior Allied tanks. They were supply chains, industrial capacity, mud, mines, and mathematics. Germany built magnificent tanks that could win any duel. But modern war isn't a duel. It's a factory floor, and the Allies turned theirs into the world's most efficient tank-killing machine.